G'day guys, thanks for purchasing my landscape photography workflow and post-processing video. In this video, I'll show you my typical editing process of editing an image in Adobe Photoshop CC, specifically a storm image I captured of a tornado in Colorado back in 2015. I'm going to try and bring back the details in the clouds and bring back some of those really nice colors. Alright, let's get to it. Okay, so first off I'll start off in Adobe Bridge. This is where I kind of organize my work and keep all the raw images, so it's all just easy access. So you can create your own favorites and things like that. So you can add to favorites. So I've added a few things, so raw images, landscapes, storm chasing. And I organize things into generally year and location. So in raw images, it's mostly location. Such as, so if we go to Colorado, June 4, 2015, May 22nd, 2015, and so on. So let's go into June 4, and you've got disk 1 and disk 2, and exported. Exported is just, once I've done a panorama that are in RAW, so CR2 files, I'll have to convert them to JPEG or whatever, and put them into, so PT GUI, the stitching software I use, doesn't accept CR2 files, so I just have to export it and go from there. On this day I shot 2 disks worth of data, so let's go into disk 1. As you can see, there's a few here, and let's just go into, say, this image. And there's some really nice detail with this piece of software. So you've got all your metadata here. So as you can see, it was at f8, 1/25th of a second, ISO 100. Then when you go further down, obviously it's got the dimensions of the image, focal length, the lens that you used, camera, and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's really handy in date and time and whatnot, but I think my time was a little bit off on that. It definitely wasn't 8:30. So yeah, and it's really handy because you can label certain images. So I've labeled this one to do, that's why it's got a purple strip under it. So you can right click, go to label, go to do, review, approved, and so on. So yeah, it's pretty handy like that. So let's right click and let's open this with Photoshop CC 2017. Okay. First off, I can tell the color's a little bit off. I try and get it, accurate in the back of the camera, but seems like I haven't in this case. So let's just go to the color temperature and just slide that along. It's looking a bit better there. Probably something like that. And then you got tint, so that's cleaned it up a little bit better too. So it's a -7. So probably around -1. Yeah, -1. Okay, exposure. I'll come to that in a second. I don't really need to adjust that because I'll probably just do that once we've opened this image completely. But we'll go to highlights, and so you can see this area is quite blown out. So if we grab the highlights, If you go up, it's going to really blow out. If you bring it down, you've pretty much saved it. So that's the really nice detail sort of thing you can get with your raw images. Like if it's a little bit blown out, even if it's quite blown out, sometimes you can save it all depends on, well, I've noticed from the direction of the sun and all sorts of things like that. So shadows, don't really have to bring shadows up at this stage. Whites, you can bring those down a fraction. Blacks, as you can see, it's just going to crush them, or it's going to really lighten them. So I'm happy with none at the moment, because we can do all this inside once we open it. Clarity, vibrance, saturation, I won't even bother with that at this stage. Curves, we'll do that in a second. Sharpening, noise reduction, I tend to leave that to the last. Again, that's where you can adjust colors, but we're going to jump to lens correction. Lens correction's good, so once you click on that, it'll determine your lens profile, so your camera, body. Then you can manually adjust your distortion or vignetting and so on. Because it kind of gives a little bit more light in the corners, but we can adjust that in the manual section. I generally click remove chromatic aberration. That's when you get hues of magenta or green blues around certain objects. There may have been some, let's have a look, we can zoom in. Go down. So you can see it there a little bit actually. A little bit of red around the horizon. Tick that and it's pretty much gone. So I would highly recommend ticking that every single time. And then let's just zoom back out. Might just adjust the lens vignetting again. So this is where you can brighten or darken the edges. Bring it up a little bit, just not too much. Something like that. Cool. Also, you can crop, do all that sort of stuff. I might just crop it a little bit, but I generally wait to the end. So that looks nice. All right, let's open this. First thing I'll take off, but we're going to work all the way down in the right corner most of the time, so layers. So let's just take off the unlock button on that, so we're free to edit that. First thing I'll do is make a duplicate of the base layer. So we'll duplicate that. Okay, so you can rename things. So for this purpose, I'll rename this to original layer. Okay, now this is where we're going to start using curves and all sorts of things. So let's go down to this little half white, half black circular icon and then go up to curves. This is where you have all your kind of adjustments. So curves. Because I'm going to look at bringing out the foreground. It's going to be nice and bright. And then just get some really nice details in the clouds. Give it a little bit of, we'll lighten it up a bit too. And we'll try and keep that under control as well, that little blown out area. Might seem a bit weird, certain things I'm doing, but we're just going to be masking in. Like I do a lot of masking in the way I do landscape photography. And then once you've made a few adjustments, you can go down to these little icons here, which will hide what you've just done in the curves area, and then it'll show you the original image. So there's just been a minor adjustment, nothing too severe. But see, that's blown out, so we'll keep that under wraps. Okay. So what we do, click on the little white box, then go over to your left-hand panel here, grab the paintbrush, the brush tool, make sure you select it on black, and opacity around 35-ish is good, so you're not just masking in everything. So we'll start here. So you start painting, you can see that it's bringing back what is in the layer beneath this curves layer. So we'll just make that a bit smaller so we get a bit more accurate, because we just want to save that, especially that blown out section. Do the same for a bit of that area too, just so it blends nicely. So that's alright. Now we'll add another layer. We'll throw in we'll go to levels, I'll show you. This is where you're adjusting your midtones, shadows and highlights. So you can see how this is. So now I'm just looking at this section of the image to see what kind of nice adjustments we can make. So just bring those down. So the sky's looking not too bad. I'm not really looking at the foreground at this stage. So again, we'll just mask that in. So grab the brush again, make sure you click on the white box. And then we'll just mask out certain areas of the image that we don't think are overly useful. Even just the areas that are a bit dark, just get a little bit of light from the previous layer in there. Cool. Okay, let's go to another layer. We'll do some exposure. I'll do brightness. So just a little cheeky level of brightness. Now I'm looking at the foreground. That foreground's really coming up nicely. Obviously the sky is way too bright, so again, we just mask. So just keep it on that 35% opacity. And just mask it in. Alrighty, it's looking quite good. I won't look at saturation and things now. What we can do, this is what I do. I usually will grab all of those, merge the layers, So it's all into one. Then I'll duplicate the layer. So you can right click, duplicate, call it whatever you like. Because now I'm going to put this into the Topaz plugin, the Clarity plugin, and everything needs to be merged in that situation. But before that, we'll rename that to Photoshop layer. So now when we work on this one, we can call this Topaz layer. All right. So now go up to filter. Topaz Labs, really good filters. Like they do denoising and detail, all sorts of stuff. So black and white effects are nice too. So we go to the Topaz Clarity section. This is where the sky is really going to just come alive. They've got collections for a lot of things. So you've got your architecture, docos, landscapes, obviously, nature, and so on. So landscapes, I generally play around with either these two. Generally clouds 1 because it drops the saturation a fraction as well. Even though you can do that all manually, but it's just handy that it's already done. Because that's clouds 1. If we go to clouds 2, it's going to be really, those blues are really going to be up there. So like that. So let's go back to clouds 1. Okay. And let's play around with the sliders. See, everything's adjustable as well, which is really good. So if we slide that all the way, it's going to be really flat. So let's bring that back up, maybe halfway-ish. Don't want to overdo it. And what you can do, you can click in the middle of the image or wherever in the image and hold down. So that's the original, that's Topaz. Original, Topaz. And then you can just go through every single slider. So you got low contrast. Then we'll slide that back up. Maybe a little bit more. Nah, that's too much. Let's go back down. Medium. If you crank that right up, it just blows out the sky again. So let's just bring it down. Maybe a little bit higher up, just a fraction. Then the high contrast. So it's really trying to save this area of the blown out sky. Blacks, what do we got? 0.9. So if we go to 11, oh, it's 10. Go 0.12, if it would let me. 0.16. Cool. Adjust the midtones a little bit. Let's see what happens. That's too much. And it's quite sensitive on the slider as well. Cool. And you can adjust the white levels. I could. Nah, that's no good. Just go back to the center-ish. Cool. And you can also adjust your saturations, individual colors, hue, saturation, luminance. But I'll do that outside of the Topaz. So I'm happy with that, and that's yeah, okay. Alrighty, so that's the Topaz layer now. But I don't like, it's probably a little bit too much, so again, we'll just layer in. So we'll grab the topaz layer, put it below the Photoshop layer, and then click on there, click on Photoshop layer, hit the mask button, and then we can just mask in what we like of the topaz layer. So again, hit the paintbrush, 35 opaque, and just slowly bring it in certain things. Especially in this section where the clouds look really cool. Might just duplicate that layer just so we've got that as a base. Okay, let's merge that together. So that's the original topaz one, and we've just slightly added it. I haven't masked all of it in, just some of it. Okay. And the saturation's quite good down the bottom and up here. Oops, Control Z. Let's just add a little bit more brightness to the image. And again, we'll just mask away what we don't like, which is that middle section especially. Make it a bit smaller, get a bit more accurate through there. Maybe dim down the foreground just a fraction. Cool. So that's looking quite nice. Let's merge those again, merge layers. So that's a quick run through of how I would process a storm image, landscape in general, but a storm image because of all the clouds and whatnot. But now you find little imperfections, like you might have a dust spot on your lens. So we want to get rid of those sort of things. So you go up to the spot healing brush up here, then just find what you don't like. So like this little black spot there. Just click, drag, and it just heals it. As if it was never there. Magic. And this little one up here is kind of annoying. So we'll get rid of that. Cool. That's not looking too bad. One more thing I will do. So let's just duplicate that layer again. On a Microsoft PC, you just hit Control J. Duplicates the layer down here. Filters, we're going to do a bit of noise reduction. So different programs have noise reduction. You can do noise reduction within inside Photoshop, but I just use this software. As you can see, that's the original. That's with noise reduction. It's probably overly reducted, if that's the word. So we'll hit OK. Again, we'll just mask in, so we don't need to have that complete softened looking image, because you don't want to lose those details. So hit the paintbrush, let's make it a bit bigger, 35%, it's probably more than enough. Yeah, it looks quite nice. I only need 35% on that. Alrighty. And if you're going to print this, if you're going to make them nice and print them big, 32, 48, 50 inches, you want to go through and get rid of all those little spots, like little lens things and little dust spots and things like that. Because you might not see them when you first look at your image, but when you print it up that big, you'll see it, and then you've wasted $200-300 or whatever it costs you to get printed. So just make sure you go through, just zoom in nice and close and get rid of those spots. So before I save this, I'll save it so it's 300 resolution. That's generally what I send to the printer. And then just depending on what size you're going to be sending to the printer, you'll probably change it in inches and go 48 by whatever. But in this case, we'll just leave it as is at 300 and hit OK. Come on. Alrighty, that's done. Then I'll just save this as a JPEG today. Don't really need to save it as anything else at this stage. Storm Chasing USA 2015. You can obviously name it whatever you want. For me, it's just another one of the collection to Colorado, June 4. 46, let's call it 47. Maximum quality 12, baseline standard's fine. Hit OK. And now I'll just merge those ones so that we can just have a look. So it's the finished product. That's what we started with. So we really brought out the detail in the sky, some nice color in the foreground, and one pretty looking tornado. Well, that's it for this tutorial video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you can take away a few things for next time you're editing your images. I'll see you next time.